Welcome to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton. I am Connor Williams, joined by Mike from the Unholy Trinity Podcast. And with today's video is the transfer reaction to Nathan Patterson from Rangers for about 12 million. Firstly, Mike, how nice is it to finally sign a right back after, 5 years of fans screaming for one?
Yeah, it's about time, isn't it? We've been saying for many years that we need to get somebody in to take over from Seamus Coleman. Ideally, it would have been a few years ago as opposed to today. But great to get a young lad in, 20 years of age, highly thought of. Certainly, he was looked at as a really great talent going forward and a great prospect. And it's good that we've managed to get it over the line. We've been after him for quite a while. Certainly, he was heavily linked in the summer. Couldn't do a deal then. Obviously, we were in a slightly better financial situation with the outgoing Luca Dean probably paying for the initial fees of Mikalenko and also Patterson. So yeah, it's a bit of a statement for me, and I think the two signs that we've got in. Obviously, Patterson's the one today, but the two signs that we've got in, and the right age, the right profile. Signs that we should have really have been making over the last few years, and it's certainly a positive start to the week after a poor weekend, that's for sure.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's nice that we're sort of going for younger, talent that look a bit hungry. Do you think this could be the changing of how Everton do their business then? The fact that we're getting players of, like you said, a younger profile instead of players of 29, 30. Sort of that ilk.
Yeah, hopefully we've passed that baton onto Newcastle by the looks of things. But yeah, I think you've got to have a mixture, haven't you? You've got to be able to go out and get players with a bit of experience at times. But I think we all know we've been guilty of doing it too often and giving players at the back end of the 20s, early 30s, these big contracts, for say 3-4 years at times, and it's costing us a hell of a lot of money. And the vast majority of times, those players are certainly not performing, and we're not getting our value for that money. And we know as a business in football, you've got to be able to bring players in who then have a sell-on value. We've been really poor at that, and so yeah, hopefully it's a sign of things to come. And we've got to operate with that kind of model. We've got to be making sure that we can sell players on to make money and then make further improvements to the side. We've had a few successes over the years, but not enough and nowhere near enough really. But it's excellent to get him over the line today. Something we've needed. Judging by his first interview, the kid's hungry to succeed. He's delighted to be here. He said it's one of the easiest decisions he's ever had to make. So all signs are positive, and I think over the next sort of 12-18 months he's really going to fit in nicely, and he can learn, use that time as well to learn from Seamus Coleman, who's been fantastic for the club.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, obviously this now means Seamus Coleman I think he'll play the first couple of games till Patterson's integrated a little bit better, but it means he's probably not going to play every game for the next, for the whole rest of the season. Do you think we could see Seamus Coleman move into more of a mentoring type thing? Because from what I've read of Patterson, he sounds very similar to Coleman in the fact that they're both good going forward. They like to play 1-2s, pass and move with the winger ahead of them. I did read that he wasn't very good trying to beat the man himself, just because he's not physically strong enough to, shrug them off. So he tries to avoid that if possible. But there were a lot of similarities between him and Seamus Coleman in their style of play. Do you think this could be the perfect time for Coleman?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, maybe not so much this season. I think we're still going to see a fair bit of Seamus Coleman. As you say, it won't be every game, of course. Patterson's going to get his fair share of chances to obviously start. But I think, going forward into the back end of this season and into next season, Seamus Coleman will certainly sort of fall into the Leighton Baines role, if you like, when Leighton was at the back end of his career and Luca Dean came in. That was what Leighton Baines was doing. So I think that's natural. And as I say, it's really important that this kid learns from Seamus Coleman, as you said, maybe a similar similar kind of profile, if you like, in terms of the actual their game that they like to play. Seamus took quite a while just to get up to speed and really make that right back position his own. So ideal for this kid to come in and learn from Seamus Coleman and pick his brain. And I know he's very, very open as a mentor, as a captain, to teaching the younger players and trying to instill what it means to play for the club as well, and how important it is to ensure that you give your all. But I think most people that I've spoke to and heard from, Everton fans are delighted with this deal. I think both Rangers and Everton have got a good deal out of it, really. Rangers, it's their record sale, which says it all. But maybe some may argue we paid a little bit too much. But I think I'd rather have this kind of outlay on a young kid who's a prospect and he could go on to be a real talent. It's not as much as a gamble, I don't think, as other people maybe make out.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think at a time as well where it looks like Newcastle are about to pay, in my opinion, a little bit too much for Kieran Trippier, who we were linked with, in the summer, and apparently we were really looking at. I think this is the one I'd much more prefer, 12 million on a young lad who, even if it doesn't work out, there's time to get some resale value back in him than a 29, 30-year-old that you're paying 25 million for that's probably going to stay at the club till he leaves on a free, or if he does go, will go for very, very cheap. This certainly is the ideal type for me in terms of transfers. The one thing that excites me the most about him, as well as is that he reminds me of fullbacks of a bit like the Moyes era. Apparently, not only is his delivery good, but he's a bit tenacious. I've seen him compared to Robertson from Liverpool, and the fact that as soon as he loses possession, he's there trying to win it again, getting high up the field. Him alongside Mikalenko, who I've heard is meant to be just as tenacious. It brings a bit of a bite back to the Everton team that I think fans are missing.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, look at Sunday as another recent example. How many times did we lose a tackle? Did we go in maybe half-hearted because we were scared of getting injured? There was too many of those occasions, and that's only in one game. So if we can get players in who've got that kind of makeup about them, then that's exactly what we need. We've missed that for many years. There's too many players who don't want to do maybe the dirtier side of things. But I think certainly the two that have been brought in have definitely got the right profile, the different kind of players maybe to what we've had in the last, say, 2 or 3 years. But these two most definitely, they're going to put a shift in. They're going to work hard for the team. And totally, absolutely ideal in terms of what we need to bring into the club and add to what we've got, because we've got talent there. There is talent there, but we're underperforming. Make no mistake about it. We certainly are. The manager's getting a lot of stick, and rightly so. But we're certainly missing something. Important not to put too much on these two young lads. They're just coming in from less competitive leagues, so let's not think they're going to change us overnight. Let's give them the time to bed in and learn the English game and learn what it's about to play in the Premier League. But I think going forward, I think for the near future and maybe 2-3 years time, I think these are excellent signings, and like you said earlier on, signs that we should be making and looking to make going forward.
Yeah, and I think it's important, like you said, to remember that both of them. Mikalenko, apparently the Ukrainian league's had a winter break and he's not played for a while, so his fitness will have to get up. But even then, Patterson, struggles to get into the Rangers team purely on the fact that James Tavernier is, a very, very good fullback for them. Even under Steven Gerrard, he was this captain, I think, so it was hard to push him out of the team. But I think it is important, like you said, to weigh up that even then, even if they were playing week in, week out, these leagues are, with no disrespect to them, considerably lower quality leagues than the Premier League, for example, where, even your Burnleys and the teams at the bottom have a good standard of football about them. Obviously, I think fans will wait and give them all the patience in the world. You've obviously mentioned we think we'll see Seamus Coleman a little bit more this season. When do you think we'll see? Do you think we'll see Patterson regularly in the cups? Moving for, obviously not Hull, but moving forward if we pass, or do you think he'll be more of a towards the end of the season we'll see him more regularly?
It's difficult really to say. I suppose it depends on if we do get through against Hull, and I'm sure he'll be in the squad. If he's eligible, I'm sure there'll be no issues there. But it all depends if we do get through who we get next round. I just think as the season goes on, he'll probably get more of a chance. I mean, we need to get points on the board. Let's get that right, and we need to make sure that we ensure our safety, because at this moment in time we're in a little bit of trouble. But I do expect as the season goes on, I think you'll get certainly more opportunities. And as we get to the back end of the season, the chances are you'll be getting more chances to start. And you probably see the changing of the guard almost at that particular point. And as we start next season, I think, we're assuming that he takes to the league okay. He's dealing with the physical demands absolutely fine as well. Then he's going to be starting week in, week out, and the summer will be a big summer for him, I think, to really go through a pre-season with the team and then cement his place in the start 11. The same with Mykolenko. I fully expect Ben Godfrey to probably continue at left back, and then as the season goes on, Ben Godfrey probably look to go back into the middle with probably Michael Keane in the shorter term, and Mykolenko will then probably slot him on the left hand side. But I just think that they've both got a lot to learn. As I say, patience is really, really key with the two of them. But it's certainly exciting, even though it's been a disappointment for us once again. It's certainly it does get you back in, doesn't it? And we're being talked about again in the right way, and I think we've gone about our business correctly, and it's great to see us do it so early in the transfer window as well.
Yeah, well, I was going to mention that obviously both players have been supposedly been looked at by us for some time, but we were impressed and a little bit shocked, just because it's Everton, at how quickly we did get these over the line. Because we've been linked with players before, and then it's took us ages to get them, or we don't get them. But this felt very efficient by the club.
It certainly did. I mean, I think it tells you that there's a lot going on in the background in terms of outgoings as well, to be honest with you. I know we've got probably a little bit of wiggle room because of late sales in the summer transfer window. Obviously, Hannah's going when our window were closed. Moise Keane as well. So there's a little bit of wiggle room there for us in a sense. But we know, and the club know, and the chances are it's probably nearly done. Luca Dean's on his way. The club are assured of that transfer fee or a big loan fee, whatever it might be, with a view to for a compulsory purchase in the summer. So we know that's going to happen. The chances are Mason Holgate, another one, Yerry Mina, another one. I think there's a lot of work happening in the background for players actually leaving the club. So it's allowed us to attack the window as opposed to maybe be a bit reactive at the back end of a window, which we never like to see, and we've done it too often in the past where we've had to wait. We've made signings on the back of who we've sold and thought, okay, we've got a list of say 10. Who can we try and get? And it's you end up paying silly money for average players. So great to see obviously early work done. I probably expect one more to come in, maybe a loan deal for someone. There's still a talk around Ross Barkley being linked to the club. Someone said he was at a petrol station over the water today. I don't know how much you want to believe of that, but that just could just be Twitter rumours. But I do think one more will come in. But I fully expect maybe 2 or 3 outgoings as well, which I say will allow us to do a little bit more work.
Yeah, I mean, which position do you think we should prioritise now, in your opinion? Obviously, you mentioned Barkley. Personally, I'm hoping we steer a little bit clear of that, even for a loan. But what position would you say is probably the one next for us to start aiming for?
It all depends who goes. I mean, if you're looking to lose Yerry Mina and Mason Holgate in the one window, which may happen, you've got to look at a centre half coming in from somewhere. I know you've got obviously Michael Keane, Ben Godfrey, Jared Brantwaite, who's obviously emerging, but again, early days with him, of course. You've got to look maybe at replacing one of them, so maybe one of them will stay. But I think maybe a lot of talk around the number 10, isn't there? I think certainly that the centre of the park, yet again, when we're playing this 2 in the middle, we struggle. We just can't do it with the 2 that we've got, because you're limiting Decore for the start. So maybe you want to have someone who sits alongside Alan, a better version of Fabian Delph maybe, to allow Doucouré just to play that a little bit further forward and be less restrictive, because what we were seeing at the start of the season with him, it was really working, whereas he was sort of looking at the manager on Sunday saying, can I go or have I got to stay? So, maybe a number 10, maybe someone a little bit deeper to allow Doucouré to play a little bit further forward. That's possible. But I think the middle of the park is probably where they're going to be looking for the remainder of this window.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense as well. I know the only other position that we're supposedly aiming for is a right midfielder, right winger. I don't know if that's more Townsend's injury, and he's going to be out for a couple of weeks. His Christmas post the other day showed him with his foot in the boot. Do you think right wing is slightly more important, or do you think centre mid should be our priority right now?
I think centre mid over right wing. I mean, if you look at our wingers, so to speak, who we've got, because we do like to they like to change sides throughout the game, don't they? If you look at Gordon and Gray on Sunday, they change quite often. So you've got Gordon, you've got Demarai Gray, you've got Andros Townsend, like you mentioned, you've got Richarlison, who obviously can play wide. You cannot argue then that Lewis Dobbin could play wide of a front three, if you like. So I wouldn't be looking at wingers, whether it be left or right at this moment in time. I think we can get through to the end of the season with what we've got. But I think so much comes to the centre of the park against us, and we struggle so much with runners all the time that I think we've got to shore things up in the middle. For me, this 5 at the back doesn't work. There's no good packing a defence. You've got to pack a midfield. It showed Brighton overran us yet again at the weekend. So I think most certainly middle of midfield for me is priority over a right winger and anywhere else, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's a problem that has been crying out for not just Brighton. There's been a couple of games where I think we've been caught with too little men in the midfield. One thing I quite like about both the fullbacks is they bring a bit of pace as well. Obviously, Seamus Coleman's lost his pace a while ago, and Luca Dean, as good as he is, I never see him as a fast player. Fantastic delivery, but he's never someone I'd say is pacey. This idea of having fast fullbacks, I quite like. I think it adds to our style of play. Maybe they'll be allowed a little bit more freedom because they've got the legs to get back in time, compared to someone like Seamus Coleman, who, if he gets caught halfway up the pitch, he's got to really turn a gear to try and, fight the likes of Mo Salah back to position. How exciting is it to have a little bit of pace, and how important is it to have some pace down those wings?
I mean, if you look at the wingers that we've got now, obviously Demarai Gray is really quick. Andros Townsend has got a turn of pace. Richarlison's not a slouch. Anthony Gordon has got half decent pace. So to have that pace behind him as well, I think is really, really important. But what I would say, if you had 2 centre mids who were say sitting in and allowing Doucouré to push on, like we should do with Gareth Barry and James McCarthy, when Coleman and Baines used to go, the 2 of them would just slot in. So that allows them to have a little bit more freedom as well. It's all whether the manager will allow the fullbacks to go and express themselves further forward, which is what obviously Luca Dean, that's been his downfall, and the issue that he took with the manager is the fact that he was being too pinned back in the system. So it's all whether they're allowed to, or whether they have the wing clip, so to speak, and have to sit a bit further back. But you'd hope, like you say, if they've got the recovery pace and you've got pace in front of them as well, they should be allowed to be getting further forward and making things happen in the final third. So, wherever we can get pace in that side, I'm all for it, because we've been too slow for many, many years. We've slightly addressed it with our attacking players, but from a defensive point of view, we still, besides Ben Godfrey, we're still pretty slow when it comes to our recovery pace. So any kind of injection of pace for me is certainly welcome at the club.
Yeah, I agree. I think pace is something that we need desperately. Like you said, Godfrey has got it in abundance. And then after that, our centre-backs sort of lack it. And Yerry Mina isn't exactly the fastest. But I think, it's a very much welcome change. The other welcome change, and obviously we've mentioned it in sort of the youth of this players, but overall, I saw a stat before where it was like 70% of Everton's Premier League goals have been scored by players 25 or under. And obviously, when you mentioned Branthwaite before, these 2 younger lads now, Ben Godfrey's another shining example. Dobbin we've seen, Sims we've seen, Onyango we've seen. There is, bear in mind, 3 years ago, our average age of the squad when we had the likes of Schneidlin, I think was bordering 29, 30. You can sort of see now a real youth coming out of this side, which is quite exciting. Obviously, we say a lot as Everton fans. I've seen a lot of people say, not just with the youth system, but just the fact that, we've lacked a bit of youth. We've lacked signing young players with a bit of hunger. There is that sort of makeup here. Like you said, we've got a lot of good players as well. Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin are still young lads as well, even though they've been regulars for the last 3 years. There is that really good makeup that this team, if managed right, if we can keep key players, could be a team for the next 5 years. And that's surely exciting.
Yeah, it's what we've all been wanting. I mean, we're bringing in 2 lads who are in that under 25 category. But like you say, there's still a good nucleus of younger players there. From Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Richarlison, Damari Gray for me. Still a young player. You mentioned there Lewis Dobbin, Anthony Gordon, Ben Godfrey. The list goes on. We've got young players there. We've seen the reluctance in terms of the manager for actually using youth, so to speak. I mean, obviously, Anthony Gordon, you could probably say it's been his breakthrough season this season. Ben Godfrey was signed for a lot of money, so he was always going to get the nod. The likes of Lewis Dobbin and Ellis Sims aren't really seeing any kind of game time. Tyler Onyango as well. So there's a bit of a reluctance from the manager to actually use the youth. But I think, if we're making these kind of signings now, it does point to in the very, very near future that we are going to have a bit more emphasis on younger players with experience around them, players that know the Premier League as well. And it does bode well for the future. We shouldn't get probably too hung up on the manager and what he's looking to do at this moment in time, because things can change quickly in football, and he's under a lot of pressure. But I think what the message should be is whoever is in charge, doesn't matter who's in charge, this is our policy. This is what we're trying to do. This is our structure. And we're trying to bring the average age of the squad down, mix it in with experience, and that's our model. And we're crying for that structure. Hopefully this is a sign that we are moving to that particular way of working, because that for me is the most feasible model, and also the one that makes the most business sense as well.
Yeah. My final question for you, Mike, if you possibly can. I know it's a little bit hard because he's not played, but give us your sort of rating and sort of just a general overall summary for the Patterson deal.
It's got to, you're looking at probably 7.5, 8 out of 10 for me in terms of the actual deal. There's still uncertainties, of course. The kids, I think he's played or made 26 appearances for Rangers. I think he's played 6 times for Scotland. So he's very, very raw. He's a novice in terms of the professional game. But like I said, a lot of clubs were looking at him. A lot of clubs wanted him. Everton are the ones who stumped the money up. I know Rangers have put in a sell-on clause as well. So they expect him, when he does progress and develop, when it comes a time when we look to move him on, he's going to go for half decent money by all accounts. So it's a real positive and solid signing. Difficult to make a great judgment on him because he's played so little football, and obviously this is the first time in the Premier League. But I think Everton fans will take to him. Our experience of buying players from Rangers has generally been a positive one, whether it be Big Dunk, Stephen Naismith, obviously another example. Those kind of players, they've always fitted in. The fans have taken to them. This kid's attitude seems to be spot on. He seems to play with a lot of passion. I know he's coming from his boyhood club, but he spoke really well in his first interview. He wants to be here. As I said earlier on, he said it was an easy decision for him to come to the club because it was obvious that we actually wanted him. So that's always a good start. And I think he's going to be surrounded by some real quality, mature players who've been there, done that, who we can learn from. So I think we've got a right to be excited by him. But like I said, let's not expect too much too soon, because the last thing we want to do is put too much pressure on the kid's shoulders, and it gets too much. Let him develop, let him play his game, let him make mistakes. He's going to make mistakes. But I think by the time we get to the end of the season, I think we'll look back on this signing and see it as a bit of a coup, and one who's certainly going to improve our squad going forward.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed. I'm quite, like you said, it's quite an exciting one, and it is hard not to get a bit excited. But I completely agree. We've just got to be patient with him. Like you said, he's a young lad. He's going to make his fair share of mistakes, but hopefully we'll learn from them and bounce back from them. And then towards the end of next season, 2 seasons time, hopefully he's a regular in this side. That is all I've got time for today, though. I just want to say thank you so much, Mike, for coming on and talking to us about Patterson. It's been a pleasure to speak to you.
Yeah, no problem. I really enjoyed it.
No worries. And don't forget, guys, if you watch it on YouTube, to like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment down below your views as well. Don't forget to check out Mike on the Unholy Trinity Podcast as well. Their links will be in the description as well. And most importantly, stay safe.